Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. There is a blog out there full of amazing stories that I would like to share with you from somewhat of an enigma in my life. Around 2009, I used to frequent a website called fmylife.com. You would create a profile and post about what bad thing happened to you that day. It's kind of like r/today I effed up. This is what the website looks today compared to back then, and from what I can see, doesn't look like much has changed really. But back in 2009, there was a poster and a commenter who was very popular called Doc Bastard. I'll refer to him here on out as Doc. From what I remember, he was really active on the website and his comments on other people's posts were always really clever and witty, and sometimes maybe a little bit too blunt. This is one of the posts I found using the Wayback Machine, and this is his profile. So a lot of comments. So anyway, at some point Doc announced on F My Life that he had a blog, and something in the back of my mind tells me that he was leaving F My Life to write on the blog, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But I started following the blog religiously. You see, Doc is a trauma surgeon, and with that comes a fair share of stories about patients, stupid doctors, the call gods, people from social media, and many, many more. These are stories that he has graciously given me permission to share with you. So please, let me introduce Stories from the Trauma Bay. 13th of October 2011. First post. Again. Well, god damn it. I started this blog 2 damn years ago, and I can't remember the password to access it. I didn't like the name of it anyway, so to hell with it. I'm starting over. I'll steal some of the stories from that one. Anyway, I'm a surgeon. Specifically, I'm a trauma surgeon, and as the name suggests, this is about my patients who do stupid things. Once or twice a week I stay in the hospital for a 24-hour shift to see the worst of the worst. One of my hospitals is in a rather poor suburb of a rather large metropolitan area, and the other is in a rather affluent suburb. No, I'm not going to divulge which city. The patients at the first hospital tend to be hopped up on PCP, drunk, shot, stabbed, or some combination. Those at the second hospital tend to be teenagers who crashed daddy's Mercedes. Almost all of them are stupid, have done something stupid, or have made a really bad decision just before coming to me. The first stupid story. A couple was involved in a car accident, and as they were wheeled into my trauma bay, she was wailing in pain, and he was yelling, "No, don't worry about me, tend to my girlfriend." I asked him if anything hurt, and he yelled, "Yes, my heart, it breaks for my girlfriend." Ugh. She was still wailing uncontrollably. I worked them both up and they were fine. No injuries, just bumps and bruises. I walked into their room in the ER to see his wife and her husband yelling at them, along with their 2 sisters who had no idea she was cheating. Shockingly, they were both drunk at 8 AM. 14th of October 2011. Life is cruel sometimes. This happened a few months ago, and it's just a sign that the world can be a cruel witch. A man came in having been involved in a high-speed rollover car accident. He was unresponsive in the field, with no pulse. CPR was started. By the time he got to me, he was still pulseless. Massive chest trauma, flail chest, etc. We continued CPR for 20 minutes before I declared him dead. I got the really bad news a few minutes after that. It turns out that he was on his way from out of state to attend his wife's funeral. She had died a few days before, also at my hospital, having hit a deer with her car. The impact with the deer didn't kill her. The deer went through the windscreen and kicked her repeatedly in the head. That's what killed her. They had a child who was 1 month old. Also 14th of October 2011, more stupidity. What the hell is going on with PCP? There's a major revival going on in my area, and more idiots are coming in so screwed up that they can't see straight. These are just stories from this week. A 55-year-old guy was doing something on his roof while high on PCP. Who the hell knows what? Probably trying to fly. He fell off, hit his head on the concrete, and had a major bleed in his brain. He's on a ventilator now, and probably will be for the rest of his pathetic excuse for a life. A 24-year-old guy decided it would be a good idea to go car surfing while high on PCP. Much to the surprise of no one, he fell off, hit his head, and bled into his brain. He'll probably be a vegetable forever. I find it difficult to have sympathy for self-induced trauma. 18th of October 2011. Stupidity. Okay, more stupid patient stories. One of my favourites is a 33-year-old woman who jumped out of a second-story window. Why? Because the guy she was with told her she had to go. So she went. Out the window. Of course she was high on cocaine, why even ask? She broke several bones in her back, but that's not the best part. I was doing a FAST, a focused abdominal sonogram for trauma, to check for any signs of internal bleeding. And when I put the ultrasound probe over her pelvis, I saw something move. Any chance you could be pregnant? I asked her. No, I just had my period 2 weeks ago, she replied. The fetus was actually 24 weeks along and probably just as high on cocaine as she was. Stupidity isn't limited to trauma, it carries over to general surgery too. I finished doing a hernia repair on a guy a few days ago, and as we all know, patients who undergo hernia surgery should avoid any heavy lifting for 3 to 4 weeks after the operation. I reminded him of this, and he looked at me askance and said, "But my leading lady weighs about 21 stone, or 300 pounds. I thought he must be kidding, but he wasn't smiling or laughing. "Just don't pick her up," I replied, thinking he must be joking. "I mean in bed." He's 71 years old. His wife is too. "19th of October 2011. Tragic. Surgery has its share of tragedies, but I seem to see more than my fair share. I was scheduled to do a colectomy a few weeks ago on a guy with a large colon polyp which couldn't be removed without surgery. He showed up for surgery 2 hours before his procedure, right on time. So what's the problem? His wife died last night, and he still came for surgery on time. He told me he'd be willing to go through with the surgery, but he'd have to go home right afterwards. This is not outpatient surgery. People have to stay in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days after a colectomy. Poor guy. I told him to go home and take care of his affairs. I wish all of my patients could be compliant like this guy, even though he took it several steps too far. "20th of October 2011. Motorcycles. Can I talk about motorcycles for a minute? Wait, it's my blog. I can talk about anything I damn well please. Motorcycles suck. They really suck. On a scale of 1 to suck, they suck. If I hit someone at 60 miles per hour, there's something rather comforting about having 1.5 tons of steel, aluminium, and fiberglass surrounding me. Not to mention the crumple zone, seatbelt, and multiple airbags that are designed to protect me. If you're on a motorcycle and you hit a car, or a concrete barrier, at 60 miles an hour, no combination of helmet, leather jacket, and armored pants are going to save your sorry ass. It's just you and the road. And the road always wins. What pisses me off even more are the idiots who defend their motorcycles to the death. Literally, I've had several patients tell me their horrific motorcycle accident was their last and they're giving up riding. But I had one guy a few months ago who had his leg nearly amputated at the knee. He adamantly told me that he would get right back on his bike as soon as he was able, because the accident wasn't his fault. Wasn't your fault? What the hell does that matter? Whether it's your fault or not, you almost died and you almost lost your leg. Life is a series of lessons from experiences. Learn something from this one. 21st of October 2011. Don't judge a book. I always try to believe the best about my patients, but a few experiences have severely curtailed my faith in humanity. I have a guy now who was shot in the abdomen multiple times, and he suffered injuries to his small intestine and colon. That's nothing new. It happens regularly, and these patients tend to do quite well. This guy seemed like a nice enough guy. Very polite, courteous, etc. When I was making my rounds yesterday, I noticed he'd been moved to the ward upstairs. The corner room with a locked door that can only be unlocked from the inside. I figured this guy was under police protection. And I was right. Sort of. After being buzzed in by the police guards, I noticed he was handcuffed to the bed. Turns out the guy has an outstanding arrest warrant. For murder. How the hell can I trust any of these people? 24th of October 2011. You can't fool me. I always find it fascinating when people think they can outsmart me. Now, I'm not claiming to be the smartest person in the world, but I'm pretty damn sharp. Tonight, a 22-year-old schmuck who reeked of alcohol drunkenly rolled his golf cart at the country club tonight and then tried to claim he only had 2 beers. Nice try, stupid. Even after I tell these idiots that I'm not the police and that I will be checking his blood alcohol level, they all stick with their story. It's almost always 2 beers. Were these 60-ounce beers? 26th of October 2011. Requests. Like many radio stations, I take requests. Someone yesterday noticed that I have some stupid patient stories, but no stupid doctor stories. Well, you asked for it. I was on general surgery call at one of my hospitals yesterday, and I got a call from an ER physician about a young lady with right lower quadrant abdominal pain. The first thing general surgeons always think about in a young patient with pain in that location is appendicitis. It's incredibly common and very easy and rewarding to treat. The ER doc had ordered a CT scan of her abdomen which failed to identify the appendix. There wasn't any inflammation in the area of where the appendix should be, but there was a recently ruptured right ovarian cyst which surely was causing her pain. But why couldn't the CT scan identify her appendix? She had an appendectomy 4 years ago. 27th of October 2011. Seatbelts. There's a reason that many countries around the world, including mine thankfully, have laws requiring seatbelts to be worn. China, Russia, Australia, EU, UK, United States. What the hell are you waiting for, New Hampshire? They save lives. Unless I'm moving my car from one position in my driveway to another position in my driveway, I put it on. And even then, I usually automatically reach for it. I have to consciously try not to put it on. It takes 4 seconds and it doesn't hurt, although it may hamper your ability to get your cell phone that you accidentally dropped while you were texting while driving. That's a whole other rant I'll get into some other time. 3 friends were coming back from a party at 1 AM. The driver was a bit tipsy. The other 2 were flat out drunk. The driver and the front seat passenger were wearing their seatbelts when the driver lost control and flipped the car several times. The rear seat passenger wasn't. The driver walked away with scratches and the passenger had a few broken ribs and a broken sternum. He went home in a few days. The rear seat passenger wasn't wearing a seatbelt. For comparison, here is what a relatively normal cervical spine looks like. And this is his. That's his 6th cervical vertebra completely impinging his spinal cord. He's now paralyzed from the neck down. Forever. Because he didn't put on a seatbelt.